We're joined now by Jim Renacci, former congressman, former gubernatorial candidate, the Ohio's First Foundation, JimRenacci.com. Jim, it's great to have you back on the show.
Thank you, Scott. Great to be back on.
One of the things that I'm trying to talk a lot about as we head closer to the election day in less than 2 weeks now is Issue 1. And I know you've talked about that extensively as well. It can be somewhat of a confusing issue because of the way both sides of Issue 1 have portrayed this as being a gerrymandering bill.
You know, Scott, I've traveled the state talking about Issue 1. I was just in a retirement home yesterday speaking to a number of people who had somebody there speaking for, pro Issue 1. And of course, I'm talking against Issue 1. And I've simplified it to just a few comments that really, what I tried to tell the people yesterday, it's this simple. If you don't like bureaucracies, I ask everybody, do you like bureaucracies? Raise your hand.
I'm good.
Nobody puts up their hand.
Right.
I said, well, who doesn't like a bureaucracy? Well, almost everybody puts up their hand. Then I said, how about if you have to pay that bureaucracy? Oh, we don't like it. Okay, so I say to people, Issue 1, if you vote yes, you are supporting a brand new bureaucracy that is unaccountable to you as a voter or citizen, and you're going to pay them to be unaccountable. And I think that's the best way of summarizing it. Because
now if you're on the council, it's a good gig if you can get it, but that's beside the point.
Right. And then here's what's so interesting about that 15-member commission is they got to be non-political, non-partisan, even though they can't have ever worked for a politician. They can't have ever been a politician. They can have never run for office. They can't run for office 5 years later. If you look at all this, I mean, it's like you're going to go hire a plumber to come and put your roof on. I mean, and then the argument for the other side is, well, the plumber will get, they'll pay for people to come in and help them, put the roof on. Well, then why are we doing this? Again, it makes no sense. And Scott, if your listeners really think about it, it used to be the legislators who did this, and then we said, no, we don't like that. So we changed it a couple of years ago, and we set up a commission, a 7-member commission, the governor, the auditor, the secretary of state, the one majority member of the House, one majority member of the Senate, one minority member of the House, one minority member of the Senate. We set this up and said this way, there will always be 2 minority members of the House of either party on this panel. They have to vote. They have to make a decision. And then people got unhappy with this, and now they want to change it.
Well, who really got unhappy with it? It seems like it's a lot of politicians and political influencers from out of state who are not happy with the way we draw our maps in Ohio.
Well, you're absolutely right. And let's face it, it's the Democrat Party that got unhappy with it. And what I tell people, because I always tell people this is not political, when the Democrats controlled the House and the Senate and the governor's seat, they gerrymandered in their favor. When Republicans controlled it, they gerrymandered in their favor. So if you don't like the system of gerrymandering, then just, if you want to fix it, and by the way, Scott, I tell people, you know what the simple solution is? Because everybody does this. They go out and hire a computer specialist who writes a program and puts it into computer, and then it spits out the districts. If you really want to change something and simplify it, don't vote for this unaccountable, unelected commission who is you're going to pay for. Why don't we just hire somebody to put the program in a computer, run the system, and what comes out, comes out.
Right.
And have the legislatures determine what goes into the computer.
Just use AI, as we're doing for almost everything now. Artificial intelligence could do it, and we wouldn't have to worry about elected or unelected officials. Here's the deal, though, Jim, and we're talking to Jim Renacci on the Scott Sancho, JimRenacci.com, is if you look at the maps now, whether you're looking at the state legislature or the congressional maps, they are somewhat gerrymandered. And I don't necessarily like the fact that current elected officials have an influence in drawing the current maps. But that doesn't make issue one the right solution to the problem either. And there, for so many reasons, including the ones that you mentioned, issue one is just a bad idea, a bad way of solving a problem that does exist.
Well, you're absolutely right. But again, here's the feedback I got. And I just got a tremendous amount of feedback in the meeting that I had yesterday. They said, well, we don't like what was done, so why don't we change it and see how it works? I go, well, wait a minute.
No.
Yeah. But that's what I tell them. You've already changed it. You've changed it once already to a 7-member commission of elected officials, and you don't like that. Now you want to change it again. I said, in the end, if we're going to change it, let's do it the right way. And let's eliminate all the bureaucracy. Let's eliminate all the unaccountability, and let's just do it right. But I'm afraid, I will say this, the people that put this language together, they outsmarted Republicans by coming up with that catchy phrase, citizens, not politicians. And that's what they were talking about yesterday in this meeting. Well, Congressman Renacci, why don't you like the idea of citizens over politicians? And my response, Scott, you'll appreciate this. I said, everybody who's a citizen that gets elected becomes a politician, and then you don't like them. I said, so now you're going to have citizens getting elected into this position, and you're not going to like them either.
Well, and they're not even elected.
That's the problem.
They're not even elected.
And they're not even elected.
Is the other problem.
Right.
And it's not something that you can just try out for a couple of years and see if you like it. This changes the state constitution, making it that much more difficult to change down the line.
Exactly right. And again, it's confusing. People do like citizens over politicians. They like that catchphrase. And because of that, the best thing we could have done as a government, as a Republican Party, is to put a competing issue on the ballot. And I said that. I said that Governor DeWine should have called a special session, or House and Senate should have gone in and put a competing ballot. Because the one thing I would tell you, Scott, that I continue to hear is, well, look, we really want to do something. But see, we only have one choice now. And this is where I blame our party, our governor, our House leadership, our Senate leadership. They should have put a competing issue on the ballot so that people had choices.
Because overall, you use the word gerrymandering, and nobody's really in favor of that. That's a bad word. Nobody likes the idea of gerrymandering, despite the fact that it happens at every level of politics.
Absolutely. And by the way, it's been happening for hundreds of years, so it's not like, hey, this is something that just started happening. It's something that has always happened. But again, Scott, for your listeners, here's what I tell them. Here's what I would tell anybody I'm talking to. If you don't like bureaucracies and you don't like paying for a bureaucracy who is unaccountable for you, you should vote no on issue one. Now, if you like a bureaucracy and you like somebody making a decision for you that's not accountable for you, go vote for it, because that's what you're going to get.
Oddly enough, we don't see the Swiss special interest money groups intervening to abolish gerrymandering in states like Illinois. That's also quite telling. Jim Renacci here on the Scott Sand Show, JimRenacci.com. Where are the state races as you see them now, Jim? You're traveling around the state. You're talking to a lot of voters. What kind of chance does Bernie Moreno have in the Senate race?
Well, it's interesting. Bernie made a little bit of a mistake with his comment about 50-year-old women really shouldn't be worrying about abortion. I think that hurt him a little bit. I still think he's moving forward. I think in a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being a winner, 1 being losing, he's probably hit the 5 or 6 mark. He's moving in the right direction. So I do think he is moving in the right direction. I'm not sure, where we end up. It's going to be about turnout. Same as the presidential election. Look, I do think Trump wins, but I'm not sure that Trump wins by more than 8 points from what I'm hearing. I mean, there are a lot of people that still say to me, I'm not going to vote for President Trump. And it'll be and those people probably aren't going to show up and vote. So again, it's a turnout situation. I think President Trump wins. Don't get me wrong. in Ohio especially. But I just don't know if the margins are as great. And I think that will hurt Bernie Moreno. I'm hoping people are paying attention to the Supreme Court races now. We do have R's and D's next to their name, so you can make